The armament agency subordinate to the Polish Ministry of National Defense canceled a tender for the delivery of 2 squadrons of Black Hawk helicopters manufactured at the PZL Mielec plant to the Polish army. Interestingly, the tender was canceled before the second round of the presidential election, but the information has only now come to light. During yesterday's conference of coalition leaders, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defense, boasted about his achievements. Shield East, the largest operation to strengthen the eastern border, construction of fortifications. Operation Szpej, over 100 contracts signed. In the statement by the Minister of Defense, there was no mention of the decision made before the second round of elections on May 26th. The contracting authority, the state treasury, armament agency, invalidates the public procurement procedure for the delivery of S-70I multi-role support helicopters. Justification: the contracting authority cancels the procedure if there has been a significant change in circumstances, which means that conducting the procedure or performing the contract is not in the public interest, which could not have been foreseen earlier. This means that the tender was cancelled even before it was resolved, and the reason was supposed to be the alleged public interest of the state. The question is, whose? It is ridiculous to claim that the execution of this contract for the purchase of 32 multi-purpose helicopters is not in the public interest. This means that according to the Ministry of Defense, the security of the country is not in the public interest. We are in a full-scale war, and we are ordering what is considered one of the best helicopters in the world, compatible and interoperable with helicopters that are already performing their tasks in NATO. Negotiations and tenders for the supply of American Black Hawk helicopters manufactured in Mielec, Podkarpacie, to the army have been ongoing since the United Right government, when Deputy Prime Minister Mariusz Błaszczak was head of the Ministry of National Defense.
Należało ten proces kontynuować, a jak widać,
This process should have been continued, but as we can see, Donald Tusk's government decided that helicopters manufactured in our country would not be used by the Polish army. This is very bad, because the Polish helicopter fleet needs to be renewed. First of all, this came as a big surprise, and of course we received this information with great concern and indignation. PZL Mielec was counting on this contract. We asked a representative of Donald Tusk's coalition about this matter. I think that this security issue really should not be politicized, and I am convinced that when it comes to the Ministry of National Defense and the implementation of these agreements and the rearmament of the Polish army in general, the most important thing is our Polish national interest. The problem is that the Polish army still uses mainly old post-Soviet helicopters. The process of rearming the Polish army has been slowed down. In my opinion, this is the decision of Donald Tusk, the head of government, who is anti-American because he is pro-German. Therefore, he is anti-American, and that is the essence. After the information about the termination of the tender came to light, the Ministry of National Defense is desperately trying to save its face. We have not terminated any contract regarding the S-70I helicopters. A procedure was carried out and closed. We decided to change our priorities regarding helicopter programs, and thus also change our priorities regarding the acquisition of individual platforms. The aim of these changes is to better adapt to the challenges of the future battlefield. They always talk beautifully about how they will spend money on defense. Beautiful words, beautiful quotes. It sounds great on television and on the internet. But then, when you look at the facts, it turns out that we will not be ordering helicopters. Since taking power, the December 13th coalition has been arguing for the continuation of arms agreements and contracts that began during the Law and Justice government. Contrary to the declarations of Donald Tusk's government ministers, armament has slowed down. This confirms our intuition that the government French will simply try to delay these contracts with various tricks in order not to spend the money, or to save money because they have a huge budget deficit, or to transfer the money to German or French industry.
Do przemysłu niemieckiego lub francuskiego.
Back in March, during the presidential election campaign in Mielec, Rafał Trzaskowski spoke at length about the need to focus on Polish industry. If the world is becoming increasingly unpredictable, then we must rely on ourselves above all else. We must strengthen our security. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most important thing today. What's the harm in promising? This campaign slogan worked, and probably the offer that was on the table was treated as just an empty promise. Trzaskowski promised a lot, but he did not win the election. The question is whether the cancellation of the tender for American helicopters manufactured in Poland is also related to Brussels' tendency to want the defense production of EU countries to come from Europe, that is, from Germany and France.
Widać, że Black Hawki są
It is clear that Black Hawks are not EU-friendly enough because the factory is in Poland, but the company is of course American, employing over 1,600 people in Mielec.
Jak wiemy, Unia Europejska
As we know, the European Union has decided to cut off EU countries from US military technology, even though it is the most modern and effective. Giving in to this pressure from Brussels is a mistake. We will see how the matter of helicopters for the Polish army unfolds. Perhaps we will soon hear about the return of the idea from the time of the first Civic Platform government, when French helicopters were to fly in the Polish army.